Good morning, guys. I hope you enjoyed the story about Hercules, or Heracles, according to his Greek name, last week. That's one of my favorites. Today, you are going to read another of my favorites, and it is about Perseus. Those of you who like to read the Percy Jackson series, some of it will sound familiar, but you're going to come into contact, or you're going to be introduced to a few characters that you may have heard about before if you've read anything with Greek mythology. Medusa, of course, Perseus, and the story that you're going to read is a reader's theater, so you may want to get someone to read along with you, or you can change your voices and read the parts. But it picks up at the part where Perseus and his mother are living on an island. So I wanted to read the first part of the myth to you from the book we use in class so that you would know how Perseus ended up on that island. So I'm using our book from school that we normally use, and it's called Danaus, Perseus, and the Gorgon. And if you see the picture, there's a lady. She's looking, it looks like a hole in a ceiling, and there's some confetti coming in. If you look really closely, most people think they see a face, and we're going to see why. Okay, so I'm just going to read this first part to you so that when you read the myth, the Reader's Theater, you'll know how they end up on the island. Loud was the song of the Muses about Danaus, first of a line of great kings and heroes. King Danaus of Libya had 50 daughters. Can you imagine? His brother, King Aegyptus, had 50 sons. The 50 sons wanted to marry the 50 daughters. Now, we don't do that today, but back in old times, they did marry relatives sometimes. But they were rough and rowdy, and King Danaus did not want them for his sons-in-law. He feared they might carry off his daughters by force, so secretly he built a ship with 50 oars and fled with his daughters. The 50 princesses pulled at the oars and rowed the ship across the wide sea. They reached Argos in Greece, and when the people there saw the king standing in the front of the gorgeous ship, rowed by the beautiful princesses, they were awed. They were certain that Danaus had been sent by the gods and made him their new king. Now, what are the odds that you would be the king of one land, leave that land, go to a new land, and get to be the king, right? Well, work for him. Danaus was a good ruler, and peace and happiness reigned in Argos until one day another splendid ship arrived. And who should be at the oars but King Aegyptus's 50 sons, who had come to claim their brides. Danaus did not oppose them and had a lavish wedding feast prepared. But secretly, he gave each of his 50 daughters a dagger and ordered them to kill their husbands as soon as they were alone. 49 of the brides obeyed him, but Hypernestra, the eldest, fell in love with her prince Lynceus, and they fled. They ran away. In vain did Danaus try to find new husbands for his widowed daughters. No one would dare marry them. Wonder why not. The 49 Danaids had to live a life without joy, and when they died, they came to the underworld, and they were sentenced to carry water forever in sieves, trying in vain to fill a bath and wash off their sins. And a sieve is kind of like what your mom makes spaghetti and she drains the pasta with, the holes in it, that's a sieve. When King Danaus grew old, there was no heir to his throne, and he had to send for Hypernestra and Lynceus, who were living in great happiness. They became the new king and queen of Argos, and their son became the king after them. When they died, Acrisius inherited the throne, but Acrisius had no son. He had a beautiful golden-haired daughter whose name was Danae, but her beauty brought him no joy. He wanted a son and an heir to his kingdom. Well, an oracle, which was kind of like a prophet who could predict the future, told him that he would die by the hand of his daughter's son, so a grandson. He put Danae in a sealed chamber with no windows or doors, only an opening in the roof. See the picture? There no suitors, which was a fancy name for boyfriends, could see her beauty, and she would remain unwed and childless. But Acrisius forgot to reckon with Zeus. The thunder god spied the lonesome maiden through the opening in the roof, and in the shape of a golden shower he descended to her. So that's Zeus. No longer was Danae lonesome, for now she was a happy bride of Zeus. But when her father heard the cries of a baby from her chamber, he broke through the walls in a rage, intending to kill the grandson. But when he learned that Zeus was the child's father, he didn't dare lay hands on him. Instead, he put Danae and her son, Perseus, in a chest and threw it into the sea, and if they drowned, Poseidon would be to blame. Don't know if I believe that one, but that's what he thought. So here they are, and you can see they're in a chest, but obviously they're being rescued. Zeus gently steered the chest to the shore of an island, and a fisherman who was casting his nets hauled it in. Great was his surprise when he saw what the chest contained. When Danae told him her story, he took her and little Perseus to his hut and cared for them as if they were his own, for he was a kind old man and childless. So you're going to see Perseus grows up into a fine young man, and the story you're going to read today takes it from there. There's going to be a king in the new land who wants to marry his mother, and she doesn't want to marry him. So it's a fun myth. You get to meet some monsters. There's Medusa. There's a sea monster, which they don't show you a picture of, but I'll show it to you in here. To me, he looks like a giant potato head with a tail. See him? Looks like a giant potato, but there's his tail. Here is the pretty princess that he's going to rescue. And of course, here's Perseus. So, have fun with today's myth. Be sure to answer the questions at the end, and there are brain teasers. Have a great day. Bye.